You are listening to Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.
Season Pro my ass.
Season Pro, yeah. Hey, listen, we don't get paid for this.
Not yet.
Not
ever.
yet. You never know.
How are you? You okay?
You've got to live in hope. I'm here. I feel like that Elton John song. I'm still standing. This afternoon, coincidentally, I was scrolling through Twitter, and one of the things that I follow is like, I don't know, it's about British telly or something, and it said something about there was a YouTube link about a Wogan interview with Christopher Lloyd and Mary Steenburgen. I found out it's pronounced, not Bergen, which is how I'd always said it. Promoting Back to the Future 3.
Oh wow! What? And did they show like a clip from it or something?
Yeah, it's the whole interview on YouTube, and the commentary is that Christopher Lloyd seemed really reticent in this interview, and then the cesspit that is YouTube comments were like, Terry Wogan's a fucking shit interviewer, and I'm like, oh, maybe Christopher Lloyd's quite shy, really, and doesn't really want to do press, and all that sort of thing.
Maybe Christopher Lloyd don't like the English as well. So.
Maybe, but Wogan's Irish, so shut your fucking pie hole.
All tarnished with the
Although maybe he didn't recognise that he was Irish, because in bloody Back to the Future 3, the Irish accents are so terrible. Yeah. Oh, Meister Eastwood. Oh my God. And we had a brief chat about that before, and we watched it last night.
We both watched it last night, didn't we? Like as a refresher. Not that I needed a refresher.
You did not need a refresher, but I really did.
I even turned to Hayden and said, I cannot tell you, and literally I'm watching the screen and I can't take my eyes off the screen. And afterwards I said to Hayley, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this film, and that's before meeting her, because we've watched it loads of times together ourselves. Fuck mine, I've been watching it ever since.
Well, maybe we should do an episode on Wayne's Bloody World, because I have seen that at least 300 times.
So I think it'll be the reversal of what I think our chat is going to be about, because number 3 is the one that you've seen least.
Yes,
and it's the same for me when it comes to Wayne's World. I haven't seen Wayne's World enough, so it'll be an expert talking to an amateur.
Didn't go crazy.
No.
Anyway, in when I was watching it, I yesterday I had gone on my little jaunt. I have to go for a daily walk, because otherwise I will never leave the flat. Right.
No, it's
so
good.
I've been doing this. Right. Anyway, so yesterday I was like, because it was fucking pissing down. I waited until there was a mild gap, but there wasn't really. And I went just to Iceland, which is not the country. I found, Biscoff.
Yeah.
They do ice cream, right? Oh. And I never had one before, and it is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Oh, amazing.
So I enjoyed watching Back to the Future, and
I might have to go and get some of them.
It was doubly good, because go to bloody Iceland.
It's like movies.
Well, that's what I thought.
Cream,
not, I wanted to ask you. Okay, so 2 things. Throughout our chat, I'm going to every now and then give you a pop quiz question. There's only 5 of them, and I think most of them are really easy.
Okay, is this what you were saying to me last night? I've got an idea of something, but I'm not going to tell you.
I've got an idea, yeah, and that was my idea.
So I've got to get,
and you'll be fine.
So I would like it to be known to you and anyone else that, as much as I think the trilogy as a whole is fantastic and one of the best things ever created, Part 3 has always had a special place in my heart, which some would say is controversial, but fuck them.
Well, it is controversial. However, I've got something to say at the end of our chat about that, because I think it's good to end with the quote, and I've got a thought about that. So the other thing that isn't a pop quiz question is, do you happen to know, I thought I'd ask you rather than just Google it, how long was the release between 2 and 3? Do you know? Not off the top of your head.
I think it was no more than a year, because they filmed 2 and 3 back to back.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And they did that deliberately, right?
Yeah. Part of me wants to say, like,
why did they do it deliberately? Because
I don't know, actually.
to wrap things up, or
maybe it was cheaper. Maybe they had the idea there, and it was just a bit. I'm not actually sure why. I'd have to,
because it really does feel, I was saying to you before that, at the end of 2, and then it kind of,
you get the trailer,
obviously,
for number 3.
and it very obviously there is it's almost like it's one film, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in fact, I know that 1 was originally a standalone, but if you take that knowledge away, I think really it's true, isn't it, that you can't really separate them. Actually, right. They are one.
Well, yeah, we've spoken about that,
don't you think?
Because it's continuous,
and I think
for Marty.
Yes,
it's completely continuous for Marty.
And you were saying, what was your theory, that it was like 1 week or 2 weeks or something?
I mean, I'm sure someone on the internet's probably tried to work it all out, but it must be about 2 weeks of his life.
I mean, you're right. It can't be that long. Anyway, you've got lots to say, and I will. No. We
all have, haven't we?
Of course. Yeah. But I want you to. This is your movie, so this is your time. I've said.
I wanted to ask you, because I know you haven't watched it much. Did you enjoy it watching it last night?
Yes.
Yep.
I think I was probably a lot younger than you when they came out and we watched them.
No, you're older.
And when you're a kid, yeah, I know, but I was alive when they were all out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because when did 1 come out? 86?
No, it was 85.
85. Yeah. Well, I was nearly right.
Back to the Future 2.
I was alive then.
Do you know what? Right? I've got a funny feeling. I'm going to have to Google it now, but I've got a funny feeling that Back to the Future 2 and 3 came out the same year, because I'm sure it was 89. Either that, or I'm getting that confused with Ghostbusters 2, which came out in 89, which didn't do as good at the box office because I think maybe of Batman. Again, someone's probably going to shit on me for not getting any of this information right, but at least I try.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
What are we doing? Research? We're just having a chat in the pub. This is the point of this fucking podcast.
Exactly. Here we go. Oh yeah. So yeah, a year. So Back to the Future Part 2 was 1989, as I said, and that was released November 1989. So it wasn't even a summer blockbuster. That's interesting. 89 was a good year for films. And then Back to the Future Part 3 was released May 1990. So not even a year between the two.
Yeah. Which is probably why it was released in November 89.
Yeah.
But my point being is that I was 7 and 8 when they came out.
So you're saying that you were introduced to them later in life, whereas I was probably a bit younger when I started watching them.
No, that I was introduced to them and I was alive when they were brand new. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The difference between being 3 and being 6 is quite a lot, isn't it?
Yes.
Actually. Like the difference between being, I don't know, 15 and 17 or 18 isn't that much. But the difference between being 3 and 6 or 6 and 9 is a big old thing, because you've gone to a different school and, all that sort of thing, like you're either in nursery or you're in actual big school.
Yeah.
So my point being that when I was a kid, everybody loved Back to the Future 2 because it was exciting and colourful.
Yes, yeah.
And 3 isn't exciting and colourful. But now I'm 39 and I'm seeing it from a different point of view, I suppose, because every other time that I've watched all of the Back to the Futures, particularly 2, I think I'm watching it with a child's eye. But because I knew, basically yesterday. And previously, when I watched half of it, and remember I said I stopped because I was like, I wanted to sort of be fresh for us. I'm watching it as an adult. And not that I've got a purpose, but I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to not watch it with kid eyes, not like the whole franchise, because it does hold a special place in both of our hearts, because it's very nostalgic for both of us. And so watching it as an adult, and interestingly, this seemed to be the vibe on Reddit when I went afterwards. I went like Reddit, Back to the Future 3. And a lot of people were saying the same thing, that actually it is probably the best one. It's the one with the most narrative, if you like, and it's certainly the one with the most heart. But as a kid, 2 is exciting, and it's funny, and it's silly, and it's a hoverboard, and it's colourful, and it's funny, and it's great. And you say, like when they walk into Cafe 80s, you're like, ha ha ha, that's what.
There's a lot more kind of in jokes and stuff in 2, isn't there? And then you've obviously got that whole thing where in number 2 where you're going back to scenes from the 50s, and it's called like intertwined, whereas number 3 there's none of that. It's just a constant.
And I think actually another thing is,
I mean, there's less time traveling in
because
3. There's hardly any time.
But the other thing about going back to 55 in 2 is it's like CGI, but it's not, right? But it's like, oh my god, there's special effects, and it's so exciting because we didn't have a lot of special effects in the olden days. And so anything, I mean, look at Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a great film, don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong, but actually it isn't that amazing anymore visually. Because whatever. Do you know what I mean though? It's just a fucking great film because of Bob Hoskins and Christopher Lloyd
and Robert Zemeckis, who directed that and Back to the Future.
No, I don't care about directors.
Well,
I don't.
It's obviously there's a link there, isn't there? So.
Well, there is, yes. Right, you ready? Pop quiz 1.
Oh, okay.
Who is Doc's favourite author? Easy peasy.
Jules Verne.
Correct.
That was easy. How many of these? 5, did you say?
Yeah, only 5.
Cool,
we're going to have them just every now and then. I'm going to surprise you with a.
So actually, that actually leads me on to the first note I wrote last night, which, again, I said this to you on the previous ones, is that what I love about this trilogy is that even now you're watching stuff, and there's stuff that you're still picking up, which I never noticed before, and it's just a really simple one, but I like the fact that we haven't seen. I mean, you obviously that question was about Doc Brown. We haven't seen this young Doc Brown from the 50s since the first movie. In terms of his narrative, we saw the current Doc Brown bump into him in number 2 when he asks him to, can he give me that spanner?
I like that scene. I think that's a good
scene. For his narrative for 50s Doc Brown, that is the continuation from the end of number 1. So that's right. All of number 2 hasn't happened to him. So I thought that was quite interesting because you obviously got Christopher Lloyd going back to being he's going back to be, and this is the other thing. Christopher Lloyd's amazing. He's so and again, it's something I didn't really pick up on until watching it last night. But he's really geeky as the 50s Doc Brown. But when you get to the current Doc Brown, who's in the Wild West, he's actually really fucking cool. He's a little bit sexy as well. You know, when that bit where Marty McFly's hanging and you just see his feet walking up to the clock tower, and he's got the gun, and then he's having like a war of words with Mad Dog Tannen. Doc Brown's fucking.
Don't call me Mad Dog.
But Doc Brown's fucking cool. You know, he looks cool.
You know,
he's cool. Yeah,
he's older.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. But you know, isn't it great that it's so subtle, particularly as adults now that we are, that you recognize that, do you know what? 20 years difference or 30 years difference is going to change you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, the Doc Brown of 1985 and therefore 1885 is the one that's been dealing with these bloody terrorists getting plutonium. You know, like he's a crazy dude.
Yeah.
I really liked the subtle bit, you know, when Marty's reading the letter to the 1955 Doc, and he says, like, Marty, look after Einstein.
Oh yeah.
And there's that, it's so subtle on Doc's face, like, Einstein, and it's like, your dog. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And
because he's thinking, oh, did I go back in time and am I now friends with Einstein?
The facial acting in that scene by Christopher Lloyd is beautiful. It's, you know, chef's kiss, man. It's so good.
Do you think that's why Copernicus, the 1950s dog, starts whimpering? Because he's realised that he's not going to live forever, and he's going to be replaced one day by another dog.
Oh, I don't know. maybe because he can play chess, can't he? Because he's playing with Marty in that scene.
Yeah.
Or certainly
it starts off. I really like the way the film starts as well with when they drive up to Doc's house and the rain and stuff. Like, there needs to be more films where it just rains all the time throughout the whole film.
Well, I mean, I would agree, but yesterday was such terrible rain. I'm like, it was raining then. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Did you then put it on the film and you're like, for fuck's sake, it's even raining in Back to the Future?
It was such bad rain. I'm not.
Yeah. Oh no!
Look, I'm not scared of thunder and lightning, but it was scary.
Yeah,
it was really horrible.
I told you, end of days.
Well, I knew that already. I've been waiting for the end of days since I was a child.
Eagerly waiting, just sitting there on the doorstep.
I think I'd do well in Armageddon.
I think you would. You'd be one of the characters that have got to season 10 on The Walking Dead. I think you would last. Because you'd be quite like, just shut the fuck up, we're doing this. Stop whinging, stop moping. You'd be like, we're doing this.
I'd like to think that I'd be like Carol in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right, pop quiz. Pop quiz number 2.
So just to summarise. No. Cowboy Doc Brown.
All right.
Very cool. Continue.
Well, you'll see why I'm pulling a face.
Okay.
Complete the line and who says it. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a...
When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a... When I was a kid, I always wanted to be... Is it a cowboy and grow up in the Midwest? And this Doc Brown?
Correct.
Is that the word?
Yeah. Well, I just said cowboy.
I'm sure he says.
But you're right. It does.
He might just say cowboy, but he says I always wanted to be a cowboy. Doc Brown. When he's and that's when he's reading the letter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 50s version.
Did you notice? I didn't notice this before. But I can tell you what I consider to be a fun fact, but what you might be like, okay, Vicky, boring woman. You know the outfit that 1955 Doc gives Marty
the atomic diagram.
But do you know why? Do you know why that is?
Go on.
Because in the 1950s in America, it was so.
It was the atomic
popular.
age, wasn't it?
It was just everything was atomic, and so everything had that on it, and I thought that was a nice little. There are so many little subtle things, like, you know, when Mad Dog calls Marty a dude.
You are. Yeah, because I was like, do they use dude?
Not only do they use dude, not only do they use the word dude, in fact, that's where it started.
Oh, in America. No, in America. Yeah, in the Wild West.
Time. Yeah. Yes, but more than that, James, this is so fucking amazing. It was an insult, basically, and the contemporary audience watching, we wouldn't necessarily know that.
Whereas now,
and it's such
we're like, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, and it's not from that at all. It's he's basically saying you're like a dandy. That's where we get Yankee Doodle Dandy. Dude comes from Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yankee Doodle. Oh yeah.
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 And because it's like, oh, you're like a fop, you're very vain.
Yeah.
There was a
Bohemian.
way that I put it.
You're not like he's not like a man's man, you know.
No, he's vainglorious
Yeah, I mean,
and a bit of a
well,
pansy,
he turns up in the
and
pink
it's
and the
right,
fucking red
exactly.
shit,
And
isn't
so him saying, "Oh, you dude," we're like, "Ha ha ha, dude." No, it's spot on.
Ah,
He
see,
means you're a
I always
fucking
just thought
dude.
he must have heard that off of Marty, and he's like used it as a kind of
It's
like
so clever.
it's clever.
Because if you know it, and you're like, oh, that's so clever. But otherwise, you're just like, haha.
While we're on the
And I
subject,
love that kind of.
while we're on the subject of Mad Dog Tannen, Thomas F. Wilson, we've said it before, is amazing.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I didn't realise that for a long time, I didn't realise it was the same guy playing Biff as it was Mad Dog Tannen. That's how good, to a child, that's how good Thomas F. He's brilliant as Mad Dog Tannen.
No,
I'm sorry, but he is.
listen, I agree. But the to a child bit, I don't know. Kids are fucking
Mm,
idiots. I
yeah.
thought Dick Van Dyke's accent in Mary Poppins, as I've said before, I thought that was a really good Cockney accent. I didn't understand why my older siblings were
Right, so
like,
it's the same. So it's the
"Oh, it's such a ridiculous."
same thing for me.
No, I think no, yeah, but then you watch it as an adult and you're like, no, that is a terrible accent.
No,
So
but
I think
of
kids
course,
might
I
be
know as an
just
adult that
shit.
it's the
It's the
same
same guy.
guy. But when I was
Well,
younger,
but I don't know that I
that's
would
how
know
good
it was
he
the
is.
same guy actually, because he is good. Because Dick Van Dyke, who I love, is
Mm.
not good at a Cockney accent, right? Um, because in three, I think he does look different
Different, he does,
enough.
and he acts different. He's a different
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
different
he
person,
does.
isn't he?
He is. Well, I mean, it is true,
Griff
isn't
in
it, that
number
he does
two is pretty much exactly the same as
is the
Biff.
same Yeah, you're right.
Whereas
Yeah,
Mad
yeah,
Dog,
yeah.
he's a bully, but he's just he's so good at it. He's so
Oh,
good.
but he's not a bully. It's so much more than that, isn't it? He's
Well,
just
Mad Dog.
I don't know. Yeah, he's a psychopath. It's not just
Mm.
him being a bully. One of my favorite bits, and I even wrote a note and I was like, yeah, exactly. is when Marty says, lighten up, Biff. Oh,
Lighten up,
like
jerk.
I'm
Mighty
like,
strong words, man.
exactly. It is just lighten up.
Yeah.
Just calm the fuck
Oh, and
down,
then he
man.
says like,
And
and then he
and I
calls him
do
like
love.
like a gutless yellow belly pie slinger, and then
Yeah.
Marty just looks at everyone in the bar and just goes, "He's an asshole."
Yeah. I mean, but he is. Oh, we have to talk more about that scene, but
Okay.
So the other thing that I wanted to point out was two recurring themes are, as we know, the clock tower.
Mm.
And isn't that lovely that we get the birth of the clock tower?
It's very
Yeah, I think that's so great.
because
But that was
at
just
that
because we
point
have discussed
it
that.
doesn't look like Hill Valley at all, does it? And then when he turns that corner and he sees the clock tower, but you're like, I can see now, and you're like, whoa.
It's sort of beautiful, isn't it? And I think very American actually, because you can go back not that long and see that, oh wow, these things changed so quickly.
Drastically, yeah, in a short
You
space of
know,
time, really.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean
Um,
it's only 100 years where
well,
we
not even that. If you're
and
looking at between 1885 to 1955, it's not even 100 years, is
yes,
it?
no,
You
no,
know,
I know.
and already you've got the buildings and the roads and stuff, and it's
Exactly. So I think that is particularly American
mm,
because for us, we've got history knocking
coming
about all
out of
over the
our
shop. I
asses.
mean, it's just everywhere. I'm sick of it, frankly. But I think that's really lovely. I really
Yeah.
do. And I do think like, wow, that's so, like you say, it's so rapid and
Mm.
like uh in Futurama, and you can see like the rise and fall of
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
background.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just I think it's so cool that you could just go
Mm,
like time lapse and go
yeah, yeah.
and now we've got Hill Valley, and it's nothing like
I think
Wild
it's
West.
actually. I mean, it's history's amazing. I love history. I'm fascinated by history, but it's pretty amazing that a lot of America's history is so recent that you can almost touch it. Do you know what I mean? When they talk about it at school in America, it didn't actually happen that long ago. You know, I guess in a way, it's like
but
how
to
I used.
Americans it did.
Yeah, but I mean,
To Americans,
I
they're
was
like,
always
this was 70 years ago, and we're
yeah.
like, okay, that's great.
I was always fascinated when we did Second World War at school, because even that didn't feel
Oh,
like
I
it
like
was
this. I
that
think
long
that's
ago. You know,
no. Well, it's not.
that's what I mean.
But you see, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But I mean, I prefer modern world history, is what they call it
Mm.
on the syllabus. I suppose that's why, because it's sort of tangible, where we did do lots of like Roman shit, and you can still see Roman walls and Roman roads
Yeah.
and blah blah blah, but it was too long ago
Well,
in my
so
mind.
yeah,
It's
we're
like
so
it's like
the
it
past is
was too
another
far
country.
removed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
However, isn't
when you, I was going to say, when you spoke to your nan or your grandparents about the Second World War and what they lived through, you were so close to it. You know, you're talking to someone who lived through it, so it's like
I only had one grandmother that I met, and she was the Spanish one. So no Second
well,
World War
you
for
know what I
Spain.
mean. I'm sure you
They
must have
had their own shit.
you must have spoken
I
to
know.
someone.
I know. But I think more than that, there are, licensing laws are only exist because of the First World War. I know that's a lot long ago than the Second World War that we're talking about, but that's actually quite recently, bearing in mind we were born in the 20th century, so it was still the same century. And the British stereotype of queuing, that was from the Second World War.
Yeah.
The
That waiting for your rations and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all that shit. And then also, of course, there's just, if you walk around London and you look at, sort of the brutalist buildings, they were put there in the 60s in the aftermath of the Second World War, because
Yeah.
that's when we started building. I mean, we didn't have any money. But even, my brothers were telling me that even when they were kids in the 70s, there were still bomb sites everywhere because we didn't have any money as a country. And so the rebuilding didn't really finish until, last week. And so isn't that interesting that my brothers, who are not that old, they're only in their, one's 51 and the other one's not even 50 yet. Phil's only 12 years older than me, but he remembers playing in bomb sites. And it's like, well, I mean, first of all, that shouldn't have ever been the case. But second of all, because the Second World War has shaped this modern country that we currently live in so much. I mean, that's why we have the welfare state. That's why we have the NHS. That's why we had the swinging 60s. That's what led to the 70s. It's what led to Thatcherism in the 80s. I've got a lot to say. Anyway, pop quiz 3. Where am I? Here.
You have to calm down with these.
No, they're fun.
No, but there won't be any left of this, right?
Oh no, don't you worry, because I've got several things to say, and I know that you've got loads of things to say.
Go on.
What is the name of the first McFly born in America?
It is William.
Correct. I was a bit concerned.
Yeah, it's he's the baby, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, William. Is it William George McFly? I'm sure that's the full name. Could be wrong, but yeah.
William. Oh, she would have said
The
it
Irish
in such a terrible way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I can't. Every time they were on screen, it started off and I'd written a note that said, oh, the accent's not too bad. Hers is better than his. And then I was like, oh no, hers is fucking terrible.
Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood.
Mr. Eastwood.
Yeah, but they've been in America for a while now, so maybe it's all going a bit.
Fuck off. No, they haven't.
They have, because the baby's, been born. And baby's probably about 6 months.
So your accent changes within a year? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Do you really believe that?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Eastwood.
Oh.
Shut up. That's the scene where you were mentioning earlier about Marty being hung up. He really is choking there, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah.
Did you just make
The
that
safety
up?
harness. No. Well, according to the internet, the safety harness didn't work, and so he is actually choking in that scene.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'll
Very
have to
dangerous.
read up on
yeah.
that.
Oh. Yes.
So going back to the Irish McFlys, Hayley pointed something out last night which I've never noticed. So kudos to Hayley for this one. She said that, did you notice that once he obviously you get that parody of number 1 where he's asleep and his mum's talking to him and he wakes up. You get it in number 2 when he's in the alternative 1985 or 85B, as you like to call it. And then he does it again with Maggie McFly, who's not his mum but looks just like her. Hayley said when he gets up, he checks his trousers are still on before he gets out of bed.
He does,
because in the first one, his mum
saucy
took them off.
Yeah, she did.
And I was like, oh my God, I've never noticed that before. So it's what you were saying, them little touches. It's just like, oh, love it.
Since we're talking about little subtle touches, right? I really liked that, and I'd never noticed it. Well, I'd never really sort of paid attention to it before. But in this movie, spoiler, it's only been out for 30 years. The headstone, the names change.
Clint Eastwood.
So it was Emmett Brown. For those that the listener that may not know, watch it. It does say Emmett Brown, which is why Marty's gone back in time to save Emmett's life, basically. But then during the course of events, the headstone changes to read Clint Eastwood, which is what Marty McFly's called himself. And so when that happens, Marty says, "Great Scott," which is famously Doc's catchphrase. And Doc says, "Yeah, that is heavy," which is famously Marty's catchphrase. And I was saying, is it because they've swapped deaths?
Oh, maybe.
Anyway, that was my my note, and I've said that about lighten up, jerk.
Lighten up, jerk.
He's an asshole. I just think that bit is so great.
What, where he's in the bar?
An asshole.
Well, he's in the bar and he's trying to get him to come out.
That whole bar scene from when Doc goes into the bar.
So
and orders the bottle.
Yeah, and he doesn't drink at all until right at the end.
But you don't realise that he hasn't drunk and he's just talking.
Once you watch it again, you'll notice that the bottle on the counter on the bar is still full.
Yeah.
But remember last time we were talking about the whole yellow thing and that it never came up in number 1. So do you think the whole yellow thing is just going back? Because obviously they were writing number 2 and 3 together. Is that just a massive setup for the final confrontation in number 3? Because it all goes back to that. And then they reference it again. Doc says to Marty, "You can't keep doing this every time someone calls you yellow." He mentions the accident. Even Seamus McFly says that his brother, it's like a McFly trait.
Yeah.
He got killed in a bar because someone called him a coward. Is that whole thing to set up so we get to that final thing with Mad Dog Tannen? And obviously at the time of number 1, they didn't even know Mad Dog Tannen was a thing, So
there's that theory that I liked, but Seamus ruins it, where they say that something that happened when Marty first went back to 55.
Oh yes, changes
caused him, which I quite liked, and I thought, well, that makes sense because everybody does change a bit except Marty, but I guess that is a change.
Work,
and so maybe
it still could be a McFly gene that Marty didn't have until he started changing things in the past.
Yeah, true.
So that kind of works. But I just thought that was kind of like, oh, actually, they've set this up for quite a while back.
Well, but don't you think though that it shows Marty's growth as a character, because by the end, you know, particularly when they're in that race,
yeah,
it's like, oh, okay,
and
I'm like, yes, he's grown. So, you know, there is some sort of redemption happened, and I think, that's right, Needles.
Needles Flea, isn't it, from Red Hot
Yes.
Chili Peppers, who's like really overexcited when he's revving that car up. He gets like really excited about the race, like a little bit over the top. I'm like, all right, calm down.
He's not an actor.
No.
So we've touched on Marty has a growth narrative, which is great. Don't you agree that Doc has this amazing growth
He falls in love, doesn't he? That's why.
And is that the only reason why because it seems to me that he changes his mind, and I want to know if you agree.
About 20,000 times he changes his mind.
No. Listen to the question. I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, I didn't realise you were going to ask a question. Go on.
Now he said it's not a pop quiz question. Now he's saying the future is unwritten, right?
The future is whatever you make it.
But but he's only saying that after he's met Clara. The minute he meets Clara, he starts talking about, oh yeah, well, you know, he says the future, because he says it twice, because I wrote it down. And so do you think that it's
because now suddenly the rules have changed? He says no one's future has been written.
Yes.
I don't think it's Clara, because we had this thing with him in number 2. He was and number 1. He was going on about how you shouldn't change anything.
He talks about
and then he comes back in number 2 because he wants to make sure he wants to change Marty's life in the future, so his family don't like disintegrate. You know what I mean? So we spoke about this before, that it's
true.
It's still like the rules only apply when it suits,
when he wants them to.
Yeah,
that is true. But he never explicitly says that the future is unwritten. But in 3, he says it twice. And the first time is the second he meets Clara.
Well,
basically, all he ever needed, all Emmett Brown ever needed, was the love of a good woman.
Well, so I was going to say, you know, the next, you know, when they're talking about Jules Verne and they kissed and the shooting star and all that, and then the next morning, Marty's walking around Hill Valley and he bumps into Doc, and Doc's like he's got his coat over his shoulder and he's sniffing the lavender and stuff. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, that man has just lost his virginity. Like, that is an old man who has just lost his virginity.
Do you think so?
Why else would he go through all this umming and ahhing about leaving or staying, then saving her, then taking the time to build a fucking train time machine? Well, no, he works out from the end. And to be honest, she's a very beautiful lady. Like,
I love Mary Steenburgen.
Watching it again, Mrs. Ted Danson, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
I love him too.
Yeah, so do I.
When I found out that they were together, it made me so happy. I don't know why. What fucking difference?
There's certain couples where you're like,
my life.
There's certain couples where you're like, yeah, you're supposed to.
That's so good. Yeah.
Like Doc Brown and Clara. You know,
Clara Clayton.
They and that's the thing, because Doc Brown's so eccentric, and he mellows. I think when you're talking about growth, I think in terms of him being eccentric and like a mad scientist, he definitely mellows throughout the trilogy. But I still think that she's very suited to him as a character. You're like, that's the kind of person. It's very convincing, them two getting together. It doesn't feel like an add-on. Do you know what I mean?
Every pot has a lid.
I do.
And he found his lid.
He found his lid.
Do you think that?
And she.
Well,
and he feels.
I better get out there looking for a. Yeah, I bet he fucking did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how old do you think Doc Brown is in 1985?
I don't know, because he
doesn't.
He goes to the future and he has like a.
No, I know, but
an
that's
overhaul,
the joke,
isn't he? So is he like is he like 80 odd by the time we get to 1985?
No, I don't think. Come on, he can't be.
Well, how old do you think he is in the 50s? Considering people used to look older.
Oh, they fucking did, didn't they?
What is he?
Jesus.
1940s? Was he 40-year-old maybe? So if he's 40 then we get to 85, so he's 70. So yeah, he must be in his 70s.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I think at the most, at the least, he's going to be like
65,
mid 60s. Yeah, come on. He's had an overhaul, so he's got some life. There's some life in the old dog yet. So
pop quiz 4. What does Clara ask Emmett to repair?
Her telescope. And that isn't a euphemism.
See, I told you these were so easy.
They're all fucking Doc Brown questions so far.
They're all Doc Brown questions.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I think he's my favourite.
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd's amazing. I've said this.
Well, exactly. I mean, I love Michael J. Fox, don't get me wrong. But Christopher Lloyd was in One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of the top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah. Adam's Family. He's brilliant in that. Uncle Fester.
Yes. I even went to the cinema to watch that.
We've mentioned Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He's great in that. He was in an amazing film called Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan. He was also. I don't know.
He was in Dream Team.
Dream Team, fantastic. Did you ever watch?
Fucking love Dream Team.
Did you ever watch the American sitcom Taxi?
Of course I did.
Yeah, with Danny DeVito.
Of course.
Yeah, he was in that as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
I even have
fucking love Taxi.
I even have the theme tune, Angela, on my various playlists.
Taxi used to make me laugh.
I fucking love Taxi. And I don't think he was my favourite character, but he was certainly one of my
He was like a semi-regular though, wasn't he? He wasn't always in it.
I think he comes into it in later series rather than from the beginning. Yeah. If my memory serves me right, because Andy Kaufman was in it as well, of course, famously.
Yeah.
And then basically leaves, and then Christopher Lloyd's character becomes more of a regular.
Right.
Did you notice that? I didn't go to school a lot, and I have been unemployed in my life. Not very much.
They used to show it on a weekday morning on Channel 4. Just watch it then.
That's right. Yep. That's when I watched it.
That and the 60s Batman. That was my mornings. And then Sesame Street. So I was well happy.
Yeah, man.
That's just Channel 4 used to have this lovely morning of just complete American culture.
and in 1994, they also had a lovely lunchtime of like 1970s cartoons.
Yeah.
/ early 80s cartoons.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, fucking Channel 4, you bitches. Why don't you do that more?
Yeah.
Not everything has to be the Big Bang Theory.
No. Well, I suppose that's the American alternative now, isn't it? I guess. I mean,
but
they still show?
Can't they just put old?
They still
put old stuff Frasier. On. Exactly. They put Frasier on,
which is good.
Put Taxi on.
Yeah.
Which is better.
Bit too old now, isn't it, for the young?
Oh, but it's fuck them. Fuck the young. Not literally.
Well, Doc Brown did.
It's all right. It's all right for me to say it.
She was younger,
I'm a lady.
and he fucked her.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, and she thought
I was wondering
advantage, didn't she? She thought, "Oh, you've only wanted."
Well, I was wondering though.
Now you're telling me you're a time traveler.
Oh, but she believed him pretty quickly. I mean, if I turned up to a garage and there was a car that said time machine on it, I'm not sure that I would necessarily believe that.
No, but what happened is she.
So, like, good for her.
She thought he was just making an excuse. He's done his business with her.
No, I know. And then
the fact that he was talking to a random person about her, she's like, oh, actually, maybe he does love me. Gone back to find him. He's fucked off on the train that she was on anyway.
Do you know that whole last scene there where they're on the train?
It's so tense. It's so tense.
Even though I know what happens, because
The
I
whole
have seen it
sequence
before.
is tense.
I was so stressed out.
I've written this
yesterday.
down. The train part is fucking tense, is what I've wrote down.
I can't. I actually was like,
there's
I might
fundamentally
fast forward.
there's two finales, isn't there? Let's be honest, because there's the Mad Dog finale and there's the train finale. Now the Mad Dog thing, as a kid, I used to get excited. It was
I could argue that there are three.
It was the well, we'll discuss that in a minute then, but I always used to rewind and play back from the point where Marty kicks the gun out of Mad Dog's hand when Mad Dog thinks he's shot him, and then he gets up and he punches it.
What? No, wait, no. You need to step back a second.
Go on.
The first bit is when it is revealed that Marty has put that iron.
Yeah, no, but that happens after he's kicked
from
it.
From that reveal.
Yeah, but it leads up to that. It leads up to that. It's brilliant.
No, because that's what I'm saying. You've got to start with that.
Yeah,
that's a fucking
no.
And I didn't know because I'm not into the good, the bad, and the ugly. But that was Clint Eastwood.
Because they reference it in number 2, don't they?
Well, part 2. I was watching Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Philip, and I saw that scene, and I went, "Oh, so that's why they do it in Back to the Future 3." And Philip's like, "You fucking moron."
No, but Biff's watching that in his penthouse. Biff is watching that in number 2.
I know, but I'm saying before this adventure that you and I have gone on, watching all 3 and talking about them. I was watching, it just happened to be that one scene because I was like, fuck it. And I was like, oh, because I have seen 3 before.
Yeah,
it wasn't just yesterday that I went, oh. And so that, Clint Eastwood does that. And I went, oh, that's why it's in Back to the Future. And Philip was like, you fucking, that's why he, and I was like, okay, well.
But that whole thing, and then he's punching him and stuff, and he whacks him with it. It's brilliant.
But what I'm saying is like, just that whole bit from when they're in the bar to when he gets arrested and the I hate manure.
I hate manure, yeah.
Because that's the climax of that scene, right? And of course we've got to end with some manure on the Biff family.
Of course.
But that whole bit from when Doc's in the bar and he hasn't drunk the whiskey, but we think he's drunk maybe a bottle of whiskey, and he's talking to the locals about the future. And in the future, there are horseless carriages and people run for fun. Yeah. That was so funny. And they were run for fun.
What kind of fun is that?
Exactly. And then the whole thing with Marty and Biff, and he's like, he's an asshole. That whole bit is brilliant. Then when he's been, punched out and he sees the metal plate thing that we know now because we've seen it more than once, that's what's going to happen. And I'm sure that the adult audience watching it originally would have known, he's going to do a Clint Eastwood from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But I mean, obviously I don't know that. And then that whole bit where he's like, he takes his gun off and it's like a big old gesture of like, I'm not gonna fucking, I'm not gonna do that. And then he shoots him and you think, no, my God. I do remember the very first time I saw that and Marty goes down and I went, no. And Philip went, wait. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's happening. And then to end up in the manure, that whole last scene is fucking amazing cinema.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
But then it carries on and we get another fucking tense scene of
that's too tense for my life. It's too tense.
Oh, it's amazing.
I don't like it. Even yesterday, I was like
with the green and the yellow and the red.
I didn't notice that before, actually. Yeah. By the way.
Yeah. And did you, when you were watching yesterday, when they were putting their masks on, did you automatically think of COVID and like the pandemic? I was like, fuck's sake, it's ruined any film that someone puts a fucking mask on now. I'm going to be like,
No.
No,
No,
okay.
it didn't.
I really like I don't know who he is, but I really like the actor who plays the train driver. You know when
Yeah, he was good.
when they're
I
asking
liked him.
about how fast it can go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
I
just a
really
really
like
good
that scene.
character.
It's
You
yeah,
know, he's like he's invested in that and he does it so well. So how fast can it go?
but not over the top, which is
No, no, no,
nice,
no.
you
You go,
know.
and if you get that boiler hot, I mean hotter than the fires of hell and damnation. And he's proper like, but he does it so genuinely. He's just so good. Yeah. And yeah, I think maybe you get up to 88 miles per hour. There's no black people in
How
the future part 3.
oh
there ain't.
wow,
There is not
how
one black.
racist I am that I didn't notice.
Because there's black people in 2. There's certainly black people in 1 because of Mayor
Of the
Goldie Wilson. There's not one black person in number 3. Just saying.
Is it problematic or is it historically accurate?
Mm.
It's historically accurate, in my opinion.
Do you think?
Yeah, because at that time you would have only really had the black population in the slave regions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe
and
they.
not in the go west, because the whole idea about the Wild West, and in fact it only lasted about 30 years or something. That sort of Calamity Jane, this is my references, Calamity Jane, and that's my favorite Western. People are like, it's not a Western. I'm like, well, it's Western enough. I think it's fucking great. But that like Wild West era only really lasted about 30 or 40 years, because when that was happening, the United States, if you like, although it wasn't obviously the United States as we know it, was only the east coast to the sort of vaguely the middle. And then this go west, young man, like go west, yeah, that's because to go west to San Francisco, to California for the gold rush, and to get land, because basically no one's there. Yeah, the Native Americans are there, but like they don't count. I mean, it's just, and they do sort of make a nod to that to the very beginning, don't they? When the Indians go over, and then the cavalry comes, and so there's this, because there's this land grab by the white Americans and the immigrants versus the Indians, right? And so then, I mean, there's like the Proclamation, Declaration, and all these things that I don't really know, except from American pop culture. Actually, I only really know sort of modern either country, like Britain and America. I only really know sort of First World War onwards properly, because the thing with America is, it for me, and I was saying it to my dad the other day, actually, that I get quite confused, actually, like, I'll be honest, about the War of Independence and the Civil War. Now, I know what they both were, but I don't really know when the Civil War, I think it was 1823. I could be wrong. It might be 1836. Could be another number. But it's just a little bit complicated in my head. And also because the 50th state, i.e. Hawaii, was only in the 1950s, and Alaska was only in the 1950s. And so the United States of America is quite difficult to pin down historically, because there was the 13 states of the Union, which is why there are 13 stripes on the Stars and Stripes.
Yeah.
I saw a map not that long ago, that was like, basically the vast majority of the United States, i.e. the whole of the West Coast from north to south, right into the middle. So the vast majority of it is like nothing. And what by nothing, I mean, it's before the Americans have sort of taken it from the natives. And so that's what was happening then in the Wild West. Anyway, that period didn't last very long, actually, despite the number of films that came out that came out at the time. No, that it influenced, and also that there are loads of characters that we know, like Buffalo Bill and Butch Cassidy. Like, we know all of these names, and so we think it just was going on and on. No, not that long, actually. The Pony Express, for example, didn't last very long either, because then trains happened, and and that's funny, isn't it? And then telegrams and things. And so it's just funny how there are just some things that are so big in our minds, but actually they didn't last very long, but they just had a lot of cultural impact.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the fucking creepy kid.
The strange little boy, as I've written down here. Yeah. So Doc Brown's son. I didn't know this. I never noticed it until the internet came along, if I'm honest.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I thought that
and now I can never, because as well, what's really fucking annoying is
I agree with you.
It's when Doc Brown's making that really like heartfelt speech at the beginning, at the end.
I know.
We already spoke about the future is whatever you make it. No one's been written. And then in the background, you've got his fucking kid pulling strange faces. So apparently he wanted...
And pointing at his willy.
Yeah, because apparently he wanted to piss. But he's looking like he's so much in pain. This kid.
He looks like an albino...
I mean, to be fair, not being horrible, but Doc Brown's children aren't the best looking of children anyway.
Do you know what? I don't even know what the other one looks like, because I just have that other kid in my head. Yeah. I want to know what happened to that other kid. But you're right.
Did he ever get to go to a toilet?
Did he ever go to the toilet? But it's funny that you say about you only realised, you only learned about it because of the internet. Because I remember when that happened, and there was like a still in this thing that I was reading. And I was like, that can't be right. And I went and found the scene, watched it, and was like, really? Then it happened to be on not that long. No, I fucking have it on DVD. That's what it is. I've got the trilogy. And I went and put it on my telly just for that scene and was like, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
And the thing is, now when you see it, it's actually so prominent, and you're kind of like, why did I never notice that before?
It's like,
do you know what? That's the power.
It's like somebody.
That's the power of Christopher Lloyd. You're so engaged by what he's saying, is you don't notice his creepy child behind him pointing at his dick.
I mean, maybe.
If that was me, I'd be traveling back in time to sort that out. And
I mean, that's another thing. Like, they never fucking noticed in the edit.
That's
Come
what I mean.
on, like they're doing rushes and shit.
To be fair, they
they
probably did, but they're like, well, we can't go back and and redo it, so we're going to have to leave it in.
No, but when you're filming,
you go back.
Famously, you do more than one take.
Yeah, but maybe everyone was just so engaged.
Not like that's the best fucking take.
Oh, well, maybe the other take he pissed himself.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe the third take he had his trousers down and his cock out. And Doc Brown's trying to go, the future is whatever you make it, and behind him his kid's pissing over the edge of the train.
Maybe.
Please do not go for a toilet and the train is standing on the platform.
Is that why we're not?
Yeah, that's why we're not allowed to piss, because it's when the train's standing on the platform. Yeah.
Do you want to know one of the reasons why?
Go on.
Actually, for real. It's because if you do a poo-poo, when you flush, there's no tank on board.
Does it just fall outside?
It just goes out onto the track. Yeah. And along train tracks, there's a lot of tomato plants, because the tomato seeds aren't digested by the human body.
No.
And people have like tomato seeds in their tummy, right. And then when they go for number 2, it's in the anyway. Pop quiz 5.
Go on. Is this the last question? Blimey.
It is, yeah.
Go on then.
Doc's initials are ELB, as seen on the side of the time locomotive, is what I've called it. What does the L stand for?
Fucking no.
When I was rewriting this, because my handwriting was terrible and I couldn't really read it, I was like, oh, they're all about Doc, because I was just thinking of them as I was watching. And then I was like, oh, they're really easy. And then I got to number 5 and went, ha ha ha.
Oh, fuck. ELB. It's going to be some strange. Did you have to look it up afterwards? I'm sure it's not mentioned.
I had to look it up.
Is it ever mentioned?
I don't know. I don't know the franchise as well as you do. I'll be honest.
I don't know.
But I did look it up.
Is it like Lucius or something like that?
No, but that's a good guess. I like that guess.
Thank you.
You get half a point for trying.
Go on then.
It's Lathrop.
Lathrop. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So now we know. That's our pub quiz. Fun fact. We're gonna know it forever.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
4 out of 5's not bad.
Oh, absolutely. And if you'd got Lathrop, I would have been like, Jesus fucking Christ, here is £1 million. I don't have £1 million, but you know, like in
spirit,
yeah. In spirit, you would have been a millionaire. So I wanted to say, you know, we talked a lot about your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one. Have you ever seen, there's a documentary about Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's, and there's a husband and wife team who, I don't really know what this documentary is, but I saw it years ago. I think maybe the husband has Parkinson's, and because of Michael J. Fox's experience and his support, they set up a charity or something. Maybe this is ringing more of a bell with you than I'm making it. But I was watching this documentary, and they were talking about their journey, and maybe it's part of the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I know that there is one. But anyway, and this guy goes around and he gives talks, and he always ends with, your future is whatever you want it to be, so make it a good one. And when they said that, I started crying like a small animal. I was so moved by it.
What, last night?
No, in this documentary.
Right, okay.
And then after I watched that documentary, I then rewatched 3. This is before I met you, I think. This is years ago. And had a new appreciation for that bit, but it made me cry. But then now, I mean, you know, I'm obviously still a very sensitive woman, but it's just such a bigger thing than just watching the movie would make you think, because in light of Michael J. Fox's diagnosis, and in particular this particular husband and wife team. I just think like it's the sort of thing that I would get tattooed on me if I was into tattoos.
Yeah. Would you?
You know what I mean? It's such a lovely. It's not, you know, like, oh, everything's gonna be all right, or just hang in there, baby, or you know, like, oh my God, trees are beautiful, or whatever the fuck Facebook feel good saying is.
Live, laugh, and love, all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like that. And it's not saying, and it's also not saying just reach for the stars. It's just saying just do your best, basically. That's how I read it.
Yeah, it's quite a simple saying, but it's very to the point, isn't it?
It's a sensible optimism.
And do you know what? It's quite similar in that respect to something that they say in Bill and Ted, which is another time travel film. Be excellent to each other. Again, it's simple, it's to the point. They're both that optimism. I guess both of them sayings are still loose enough for you to put your own spin on them. Like, your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one. That's not saying you have to do anything in any particular way. Just make your
Well,
future
because
good.
what I'm hearing, and maybe it's just me
Be excellent to
being
each other. Just be nice.
well, but that's a very different thing. Not something that I disagree with at all, but make it a good one doesn't mean, personally, it doesn't mean make it a successful one, or make it like, make sure that you meet the love of your life, or that
Yeah.
you are the richest. A good one is just good.
I
Like,
feel,
that could look,
yeah,
it can
yeah,
look like so many different
anything.
things, and
Yeah.
I like, yeah,
I
and
feel
I like that.
it's the kind of, the meaning behind it is, when you're looking back on your life at the end, go, yeah, I enjoyed that. That's all it is, really. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed
And I
that.
think, personally, as somebody is prone to the morbs as I am,
Mm.
I still, even in, my darkest moments, I know, for example, that I have such amazing friends. I have
Mm.
such love around me. So, as dark as my life can feel because of who I am as a human being, there is always still a light in my life, and that is that I've got
Yeah.
brilliant friends.
Mm.
And, I've got the love of my family, sure, but you can't choose your family, but you do choose your friends. And I have chosen so wisely. So, when I hear Doc say that and he says, make it a good one, I think, yeah, I have, because I've got good friends.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
So,
the thing.
yeah,
It's
good.
exactly, it's exactly what you said. It's not all about money or materialism.
No. And
It's,
somebody else could hear it and think, oh, yeah, make it a good one. I want to be Jeff Bezos.
but
Well,
look,
fine.
if that makes you
That's on
happy,
you. Do you know what I
then
mean?
crack on with it. But there's always got to be a Jeff Bezos in the world. So,
I just think, right, like, what difference is it going to make to him to give me £1 million? It's going to make no difference.
well, the
Why
thing,
can't he just give me 1 million?
the problem is, oh no,
Yeah,
I was going to
here
say
we
that
go.
no, because it's fine, because I didn't get the all 5 questions right. I was going to say, then you owe me that £1 million that Jeff Bezos, but you don't. So, because I didn't get Lathrop.
You did not, my friend.
No.
But that was good. I liked the pop quiz. I might do that to you more often.
So, yeah, you should do it, actually. Next time we do something like this, maybe you definitely do it for Batman 89. Or Batman, as
I like to call it.
I call it Batman as well. It's the only film that's called Batman. I mean, the new one that's coming out is called The Batman. It's not called Batman.
Oh, who is it that's doing the Batman? It's yeah, it is.
Hmm.
Do you know what?
Bats.
I want to dislike I want to dislike him, but he takes himself not seriously at all, that I can't help but like him.
Also,
Do you know what I mean?
with him, you would have thought after there's a lot of actors who, in his place, and they had the opportunities that he had after the success of the Twilight movies, would have gone on to have just done loads of shit. But he took a step back, a bit like Daniel Radcliffe, I guess, took a step back and has pretty much picked out films that he wants to do. Because he can probably fucking afford to do it, let's be honest.
Yeah,
Fair
well,
play.
the thing
It is yet to be revealed whether he is as good a Batman as Michael Keaton, but we shall see.
do you not agree that Ben Affleck's Batman was unfairly maligned?
Ben Affleck's Batman is actually pretty much more so than Michael Keaton. I would say Ben Affleck's Batman.
Whoa.
No, listen.
Go on.
Michael
I'm
Keaton
waiting, but
is still my favourite Batman. However, I think if you're looking in terms of translation from the comic book page to the big screen, Ben Affleck's, in terms of look, in terms of the way he acts, that is the closest.
Please don't
Batman.
Judge me harshly,
but
what Batman is it that Ben Affleck is Batman in?
So he's in Batman v Superman.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
And
I haven't seen that one.
he does a cameo in Suicide Squad, and
I haven't seen
he's
that.
in the two different versions of the Justice League movies.
Oh, I haven't seen them either.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fine.
I would suggest.
I only just watched the Christopher Nolan ones.
Right. Okay. Can we?
Don't we? Can we what?
Can we have a quick chat? Excuse me.
Yes.
About the legacy of Back to the Future, the things that came after that. There's various comic book series now on it.
There was a cartoon.
There was a cartoon which I used to watch. Back to the Future, the animated series. Yeah,
it was. Go.
It was Dan. What's his name? Dan
Castellaneta.
Sorry, from Homer Simpson. He voiced Doc Brown.
Yeah, that's how I found out Lathrop. So I know that because of that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mary was on the same page.
Mary Steenburgen was in it. She voiced Clara, and Thomas F. Wilson voiced Biff.
Who did Marty?
I don't know.
The main
a guy called David Kaufman. Who I'm just going to Wikipedia David Kaufman. So David Kaufman often serves as a voice double for Michael J. Fox. He was also the voice of Freakazoid. Do you remember Freakazoid?
Very vaguely.
That was very good. I enjoyed that as well. But yeah, I enjoyed the cartoon. I thought it was good. It was all about Jules and Verne's adventures as well. And
oh, really?
I believe.
So what can you tell me about the time locomotive?
Intro to the animation was Back in Time. Gonna go back in time.
Can I just very briefly say that
so he rebuilt the DeLorean in the animated series. So right. But they also sometimes they use the train as well. Sometimes.
When in this film there's those we've discussed it before, those musical but it's I can't wait for that to come back into cinema. Anyway, that was it was like actually, they did Beverly Hills Cop. Come on.
Yeah, I know we're talking about legacy,
such an 80s thing.
Just to go back to the actual film part 3 itself, the music yet again is brilliant. Alan Silvestri yet again amazing. I love the way it sounds like a Western, doesn't it? It starts off and you think it's going to go into the theme, and it's like where's it go? It's fuck. It's oh yeah. So it goes da, 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 da.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean.
Like a Western. It's just perfect. Anyway, speaking of music, there's the musical Back to the Future musical. Now, I sent you a YouTube video of the preview that they put on. Was it like Comic Relief for Children in Need or something like that?
Yeah. I remember.
Does look a bit.
And I was not happy about it. I am fucking sick and fucking tired of the West End just being all these fucking musicals. Dirty Dancing the musical, Cats. Cats was a musical.
Yeah,
Dirty Dancing the musical.
Do you
Grease
mean
the musical?
Do you mean
all these movies?
Right, being turned into musicals. 9 to 5.
Turned into musical. 9 to 5. The musical. Back to the Future. The musical. Fucking
Tootsie. They've done Tootsie. Yeah?
Different. Write something new, bitches. I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of reboots and remakes in Hollywood and turning all these movies into musicals for the West End. Stop it.
It looked a bit cheesy.
Stop it. It looked like shit. Back to the Future is not a musical. And if you're going to do a stage play, just do a stage play, fine. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't see why you would want to. It's a movie. Just
I
put the
mean,
movie on.
as well, I
Just put
think.
the fucking movie on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solved.
Yeah. No,
Next.
I agree. It looked cheesy. I wasn't a massive fan, I must say.
And you're not gonna replace MJ Fox and Christopher Lloyd.
No.
So don't even fucking try.
No.
Anyway, that's
There was the ride, wasn't there, in the Universal, which unfortunately I never got to go on because by the time we got to Universal in Florida, it was the Simpsons ride instead. I have seen the ride.
I went on the Simpsons ride.
I've seen the video of the Back to the Future ride because it's on like a DVD extra. So when we went, they've obviously got the big train on display in the street.
Can you go?
We were no, you can just like have your but we were walking around and Doc Brown, a guy dressed as Doc Brown, was wandering about. So we went to chat to him. It was really, but this blew my mind. And considering this was only like what fucking not even 10 years ago, like this blew my mind. So I was chatting to him. We were just having a good old chat, and he was being a really good Doc Brown. Actually, he was being all mad and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, so where are you from?" And we were like, we're from England. England. And we did this thing quite a lot when we first used to go to America. We thought to ourselves, well, no one's going to know Gravesend or Kent. Maybe Kent, but they won't know Gravesend. So we just used to say,
rightly so.
Yeah. So we used to just say London because everyone knows London, and we're 20 minutes away from London, so we just say London. So again, another person in America goes, "Oh, where are you from?" It's Doc Brown. So he goes, "Oh, where are you from?" And we go, "Oh, London." He goes, "Oh, whereabouts in London?" And we said, "Oh, we're actually just outside of London, in Gravesend." And he went, "In Kent." and me and Hayley,
Doc Brown blew your mind.
Well, me and Hayley looked at each other, and then I looked at him, and I was like, "How did you know that?" And he just went, "I'm Doc Brown," and then he walked off.
I love him.
Yeah, it was amazing.
All right, he is great. I mean,
that's right. A fucking Back to the Future legacy.
That's a fucking Back to the Future legacy. Yeah. That one Doc Brown. That's so cool. It's funny, isn't it? How like Gravesend isn't. I mean, to me, it's not unknown.
I mean, maybe he just knew.
Why would you know it?
Maybe he just knew his Pocahontas shit.
Well, maybe he was from fucking.
Maybe he was from Gravesend.
You know what I mean? The thing
maybe he went. Maybe he went. Yeah, so maybe he went back into like the staff room. He was like, "I've just seen some people from my neck of the woods."
Exactly.
Right, I'm going back out of Doc Brown now.
I love how you put on an accent, even though you're from Gravesend.
I'm not from Gravesend anymore, darling.
But where were you born? Brought up? Gravesend.
Gravesend.
Yeah, so you don't have to put on an accent. That's your accent.
I'm not from there anymore. I'm from.
No, you are from there. You can move to Timbuktu. You're still from Gravesend. I'm sorry, honey, but that's the way it works. Just because some of us are from Queen's Park, which sounds nicer than it is.
Okay. Fine.
I'm from a shithole, so you know.
So
whatever.
I also wanted to ask you. So the legacy so far has been the cartoon, the ride, the musical, and there's always been talk for years about a sequel. Do we think it needs one?
No,
I don't. I mean, as much as I love the trilogy, I'm still happy for it to be as it is. And
no, it just needs to be that. That's it.
The writers have actually got it, haven't they? There's a contract, an agreement that they're not allowed to remake it or anything.
Oh, good.
No sequels, no because the other thing that worries me is a remake, because I don't think you can remake it.
No, because who's going to play Michael J. Fox's character? Who's going to play Christopher Lloyd's character? You know, like they are Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. So other people in it, sure, okay, Leah Thompson, whatever, fine, maybe, but Michael J. Fox is Marty, and Christopher Lloyd is Doc.
Yeah,
I don't. No, just stop it.
No. There is a deep fake thing on YouTube, and it's Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. and he's actually very good. However, I do find the whole idea of a remake to Back to the Future is very problematic for the simple reason being, I think what part of what makes Back to the Future what it is the time that it was set. The fact that it was set in 1985, and you've got that lovely rounded kind of figure of going back, 30 years to 55, then going back to 85. So what do? If you're remaking it, do you remake it but set
And
it
go to
so
95 and
make, but this is the
2005.
thing, to make it a period piece. So you're basically just remaking it and it's set in 85 again, and they're doing the 55 and they're doing the 1885. If you're doing that, then why are you doing that? What's the point? If you're not going to do that, if you're going to, as Back to the Future was set in its current time of 85, do you then say, okay, well, we're going to set it in 2025? So then if you're going 30 years, what's that? That's the 85, isn't it? Is it going to have the same impact?
No, I just think leave it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we discussed very briefly once the Ghostbusters, the female one.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, I just sort of didn't see the point in it.
No.
Not because they were all female. Like, of course, I'm a proper feminist. Like, of course, I want. But it just seemed so, like they should have done what the new Paul Rudd film looks like it's going to do, which is just in the Ghostbusters universe.
Yeah, like the girls should have been maybe like the children of the original, something like that.
Yeah. But would I like it to be a Back to the Future? Well, maybe it would be cool to see Jules and Vern's adventures. I would be okay with that.
Okay, so if it was a continuation rather than a remake.
Yeah,
but then a continuation is a sequel,
but not a continuation in the same way, set in the same universe, but a kind of parallel story. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a sequel,
almost
really.
Like handing over the mantle to the next.
Yeah. I
Whereas
would be
like
okay with that.
When they bring back Indiana Jones, it's Indiana Jones, but he's fucking old. Whereas with the new Ghostbusters,
and it's like, really?
Yeah. So maybe, what do you reckon? Back to the Future? Are we saying maybe a prequel instead about Doc Brown?
That would be good,
because he
would be good.
I mean, there's a lot of history with Doc Brown. They were the von Brauns, so I'm assuming they were German or Austrian or something.
Well, and why is he a disgraced physicist?
Why is he disgraced? Yeah, what led him to being classed as a mad scientist in the area?
Yeah. That I would be on board with more than.
I mean, it may have been answered in the game because they brought out a massive game, didn't they, for it?
But is that cinematically canon? No, not as far as I'm concerned.
No. So maybe, that could be quite interesting. We know too much about Marty's family history now, so we don't need any more of Marty.
Yeah, we do.
I don't think,
Not if we're going to have some terrible Irish accents. No.
Yeah.
Not if that's all they bring into the fucking table. Oh, Mr. Eastwood. Honestly.
Mr. Eastwood.
So, that was better than hers.
Thanks.
She's a fucking actress.
And that was shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Also, is she...
Jesus, look at your hat. Where's your hat?
Has she ever seen Seamus, do you think, without a beard and a tash? Because I'd be saying, cool, this Clint Eastwood is exactly like my husband when he's got a beard, got a beard and tash.
Well, you would think that Seamus had seen himself without a beard and tash,
and gone, oh.
And so, like, if you met somebody who looked exactly like you, but they had a beard, you'd be like, do you know, you look exactly like me?
I would be demanding to see a photo of them without a beard.
I would be like, who the fuck are your parents?
Yeah.
Like, what has happened here?
Yeah.
Were you adopted?
Yeah. And what's with your shitty Irish accent?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what Marty should have said.
Yeah.
But I was listening to a podcast about Irish accents, and that wasn't It was just that episode. It's not a whole fucking series.
Right, yeah. Wow, and, that's a niche market.
And yeah, right.
This has been a Head Full of Straw production of Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.